Yes, I think I'm about ready to go. Yes. And welcome to my weekly modcast, where I talk about men in parkas from the 60s on scooters. Not really. Of course, it's Chris Dangerfield, Sunday prescription, and it's my rodcast. It's a weekly look at fishing and all the other beautiful creatures that swim in the sea. We are on a roll. We are burning up. This is actually a homosexual podcast for people who are addicted to Grindr. And what I do over the space of the next 30-40 minutes is slowly hypnotise you away from the Grindr app and back to a more wholesome life of wearing raw, uncooked chicken on your feet like slippers, which of course I have done and no doubt will come to later. So here we are. If I just have a look at my calendar, I like to have an original paper calendar, of course, in my the recording sanctuary. It's Sunday the 7th of June. How are you? All well? Good. I'm very well. See how I dismissed your feelings, not because I can't hear you, but because I don't care. No interest at all. Although I've got some interest. If you wanted to write to me and tell me how you felt, I probably would take it into consideration, because I'm a nice person. I'd done 2 years at the Be Nice school. I got a Bachelor of Arts, a merit, in fact, at being nice. Didn't excel, but didn't fail either. Certainly got through the basics. Learned how to put my hand on a stranger's shoulder and give them a look, and let them know that life's going to be fine, that the future is less of a chasm than the gaping loss behind them. Now, why am I excited? Why am I really, really excited? Because I am, from now on, to be known by deed poll as Chris Dangerfield, friend of Mark Wooten. Okay? I'm going to say it again, but this time I'm going to give you time to prepare. So sit down, take a breath. We know it works. Breathe in. Breathe out. I am Chris Dangerfield, friend of Mark Wooten. That's right. TV funny man Mark Wooten. You might know him probably most famous for Channel 4 show My New Best Friend. If you haven't seen it, you have got about 5 or 6 episodes of pure television luxury. I wish I'd never seen it and was about to watch it. Check it out. My New Best Friend is Mark Wooten. He also done Shirley Ghostman, La La Land, some very weird middle of the road sort of bread and butter stuff that people do, and you're like, no, I never thought you'd do that, cack, while they're just trying to pay their bills. But you know, you can leave them by the roadside anyway. So I'm sitting in my palace and doing very little, staring at the screen, you know. And I saw Mark Wooten standing outside, and I thought, oh look, Mark Wooten. And so I took a photograph, snide, you know, just sort of my mobile phone. I actually said mobile phone, as if saying phone, you'd have thought I meant like one of those old things that you hold to your ear and press it once. Hello, Bayswater 2845. Yes, I need to speak to the inspector. It's urgent. I picked up my portable telecommunications device, and I let it sort of bob up above the window ledge, got him in shot, gotcha, and I sent it to the missus, and I went, no way, look who I'm mates with. The joke, of course, being I wasn't. However, I thought I can't let this one go, so I pulled on a pair of silk pants and went downstairs, sprinted across the road and went, oi, you Mark Wooten. Now, when you watch My New Best Friend, you'll see that he appears in people's lives and sort of goes, hello, and he pretends to be their best friend, and they got to put up with it for like 2 days to win 10 grand. And he causes nightmares on them, and it's all right when it's just them, although you say that, he does push them to the brink of sanity. But when it involves their parents, for instance, he took one of these girls, he's out for dinner with her parents, and they're really weird straight people, and he's acting like a real hippie, and he's like, nah, she's going to sell her house and we're going to move to the Falklands together, and she has to go with it, and they walk out and things. It's quite harsh. They don't all get through the 2 weeks. Anyway, the reason I say that is I kind of appeared in his life like his new best friend, and I was like, Mark Wooten, and he went, yeah, and we talked, and it was good, and I liked it, and he actually had heard of me from my amazing success in the Scottish Comedy Festival, and he said he's going to come to my show. I'd be well chuffed if he came to my show. I'll admit I would be well chuffed. I'd like him to see me perform, if you know what I mean. So that was exciting, and in many ways the highlight of my week. But I did just go to my mother's. Now, I've got a friend who's about 65 years old, and he gave me some very good advice once. He said to me, Christopher, it's all right to hate your mother. Everyone hates their mum, really. You know I'm right. And I'd like to apologise at this point to anyone who chooses to listen to my podcast with their mum. I know a few of you do. I get photographs of the pair of you sitting hand in hand with a cup of tea and a small cake, tuning in to Dangerfield Sunday Prescription à la mère. But yeah, he said it's all right to hate your mum, and what I do, I limit myself to 3 hours. And I took his advice, and I'd done all that, and it was working well. But I realised it was working well for me, not so much my mum. And sometimes you have to do things for other people, and it actually makes you feel good when you do things for other people. And so really, you're doing it for yourself via other people. You're using them. So, and it's also more attractive if you see it like that, obviously. So me and the missus committed to a whole night, a sleepover, yeah, at my mum's house. And isn't it weird? Aren't parents weird? I remember when I studied Freud, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of people get the ump with Freud, but I think it certainly answered a lot of questions that I didn't know I had, because so involved in the emotional relationship between my parents was I, that it's hard to know that I was struggling with things because they'd always been there. You know, it's like, I don't know what the analogy is, something to do with fish and water. Tell a fish it's raining and it swims in the air or some shit. But it's very strange relationships there that have built up, and weirdly, unlike certainly unlike adult relationships with the parents, they got to call the shots for so long. You know, they created you as a genetics aside as a blank canvas, and they filled you with information. A great thing, I think it was the same bloke actually, said to me, your parents are the best at pushing your buttons because they installed them. And it's certainly like that with my mum. From the outside, it looks like quite a healthy relationship. I've had plenty of friends say, oh, well, like your mum, you know, you just do what you want. And there is the problem, really. It certainly was boundaryless. You know, I think after my father's death, I kind of had a boundaryless relationship with my mother. I kept no secrets from her, but not intentionally. I didn't set out to just go, I'm going to not keep any secrets. It's just as that authority, the father authority fell out of my life, I kind of went with it. You know, I sort of got caught up in that wave of a lack of authority and surfed it like good vibrations perhaps dried up there. So a couple of days at my mother's, and instantly it's odd because you forget what it's like, you forget what that relationship's like, and it only takes a few words, a certain expression, you know, and there's 43 years of programming and cross programming and stuff that's happened between us, and so a word or a certain look or anything, and you're just like, oh God. It all comes flooding back, and you're just thinking, you know, you're just asking me if I want a cup of tea. Why is this sort of quagmire of psychology involved? And it's just odd. Not always negative, not always unpleasant, but certainly distinct. And you know, there's a relationship with your mother that is definitely something other than all other relationships. It's fucking strange, man. Obviously, I haven't got the same kind of insight into a relationship with a father. I've got a relationship with an absent father, which, of course, is still a relationship, but void of substance and detail at this point. So what's interesting, my mother was addicted to Cityville like you've never known. I mean, without doubt, if I turned up on her doorstep, announced or unannounced, she'd be hunched over the laptop I bought her to help her communicate with the world, and building little digital villages for absolutely no reason. And I can't judge her for that. I can. It was fucking weird, but they closed it down. They closed down Cityville. The owners, they were like, no more. We're not doing it. And she was devastated. And she got me to screen print her village, which was about 30 screens. Her city, sorry. She got me to screen print it and put it all together. So she's got like a memory of this place that didn't exist. Really quite odd. I felt quite weird doing it for her. It was, really, really strange. But of course, 2015, think about it, 2015, she's discovered Facebook. And it's weird because the things that she likes about it aren't exclusive to Facebook at all. They're actually just modern communication, but she well likes it. She thinks it has got enough novelty value to make it worth sharing. So you're sort of sitting there and there's something on telly that's all right. I don't have a telly, so I get into that novelty. You just sit there and a stream of bullshit just comes out, and it's well produced bullshit designed specifically to numb you and make you not think, and it works really well. It's an amazingly well evolved bit of technology. And suddenly she's interfering, and she's also quite a well-evolved bit of interfering technology. So she's just I can hear her mouth sort of ready to talk to me. So I have to sort of turn and go, yeah. And she's like, and I'm thinking there is no chance that whatever she's referring to warrants any laughter, let alone that that sort of wholesome chuckle. And I go, yeah. And she says, well, I put up a post last night that I say a post, I put up a thing, and she's going into this sort of anti-detail, making it more vague by trying to elaborate on it. Not a post. I mean, I don't know what it's called. I put up like a sentence. By the end of it, she's like, yesterday I did something. And I'm like, right. And she said, I get infuriated by buttons on duvets. Now at this point, my inner self has died. I've got about 250 inner selves that I can allow to die. I can sacrifice when I'm in my mum's company. But she was on like 26 within the first hour, and I thought, I'm here all night. I've got to pull back a bit, get some defences. So I sort of glaze over, and I'm like, right. And she said, I put a post up that I don't like buttons on duvets. And she went, but they're still talking about it. I'm like, oh right, who's they? She said, well, there's this one woman from New Zealand, she's talking about it. And I went, oh right. And then she went, and then there's one woman here and she said something too. And I don't know what to say to it because there's nothing there. And so I just go, well, hey. And then there's like a weird pause, and we both know that it's going to be a long night. Now, if this feels a little bit disjointed, that's because I just done a whole section that I thought was probably the best thing I'd ever said, and it didn't record, so that is lost. That's gone. Alright, so if it feels a bit clunky that we've just come in here like that, that's because we did. But that's alright. The queue is forming outside. There's no Mark Wooten in there today, but I think I've described this to you before. There's a queue of, I'd say, about 50 people outside for the restaurant below. And the restaurant below, Bao, they sell these little steamed buns. But you can get them with no queue, literally 30 metres up the road at Yo Sushi. They're twice as big and half the price. So what I've been doing is when the crowd forms, I go up to Yo Sushi, I go up to Joe Sushi's shop, and I get a couple of buns, and I come down and I sit in my window eating them. So not only are they waiting a good 30 minutes for their buns, but they get to watch someone eating theirs while they wait, which is really what you don't want. Speaking of restaurants, me and the missus like to go to see what I've done there, great cut into that. We like to go to Jay Sheiky's on St Martin's Court opposite Leicester Square. and we sit at the bar area. They do like a bar thing, and they've got like a seafood tapas, but it's a bit of a tapas con because they expect you to sort of go, yes, oh, I'll just have that, oh, that looks nice, and then have a drink. And you know, when you have a drink, oh, I need some more stodge, oh, I'll have that please, I'll have half a pint of prawns, oh, that's nice, oh, I'll have the mozzarella and pine nuts, and slowly, before you know it, you're £200 down. But we have learnt that the crab, the whole crab, which they give to you in a plate of ice, is like this fucking... It's like a dinosaur on ice, and they give it to you, and it takes ages, and you've got all these special tools and usually a few plasters, and you can just really enjoy it and sit there, and it's just delicious, and it's only going to cost you about 30 quid, so I do recommend that. Go in there and go, crab, nothing more, nothing less, crab. Now we're doing this, oh no, you have to have the desserts as well. One of them, one of the desserts, it's like, you know, the honeycomb, like a crunchy, but imagine a crunchy that was shit by Athena, the Greek virgin goddess of reason, into a black hole, and a few marshmallows were chucked in there, and the whole thing was spermed through the god lord penis onto your bum plate of love. That's what that dessert's like. If you just mention it in the way I described it then, they'll know what you're talking about. I suggest you do that before you order a crab, and let the evening commence in a wonderful way. We were there, and we'd had our crab, and we had that dessert. You have to eat it with your elbows, though. I don't know why. And it was time to pay, and I didn't really know... Well, I just made a mistake, basically. I saw the waiter. So you imagine you're sitting at the bar, and the waiters operate the till behind and serve you from behind the bar. You know what a bar's like. You've been to a bar. And I saw someone else get their bill, and I thought, right, now's my chance. You see, the mistake I made was... not realising that a waiter whose job it is to serve you food and take your money, I didn't realise that he could do that at any time, and I don't know why. It's a bit... Do you remember when I told you I lied about my granddad to get me Arsenal season ticket? It's one of those moments. I suddenly pull out of myself, so my mind is sitting next to me, and I watch myself, and I'm thinking, you're about to do something really unnecessary, but I can't stop it. And I know it's already weird. And so when he served these other people, I thought, right, you've got to commit to this now. You've got to get in now. I kind of thought that because he was getting someone else's bill, you know what, now I'm saying it, I thought it would be easier for him to do 2 bills at once. You know, obviously that's actually harder for him, but I thought that would be easier for him. It might help him to do 2 bills at once. So as soon as he said to this other couple, oh, I'll get your bill, I straightened my back, and I knew I'd have to commit to it. I couldn't mumble, it couldn't be a whisper. And in this relatively quiet kind of restaurant, Friday night, it's kind of, you know, it's got low lighting, it's that kind of deal. I straightened my back and really loud. Now bear in mind, my missus has got a little bit of the aforementioned delicious dessert in her mouth. I just straightened my back, looked at him head on and went, well, I've one of those too! And he didn't hear me. The rest of the bar did hear me though, and I was just stuck there with my spine straight, wide-eyed and expectant. The missus is pissing herself now, giggling bits of honeycomb frothing out of her mouth in hysterics. Everyone else in the bar heard, except for the man I wanted to hear. And I'll tell you why I didn't hear, because he was serving someone else, and he doesn't need to rack up all the bills at once, so he wasn't actually open to someone saying, well, have one of those too! Which was quite odd. So yeah, a really odd night, and it took the missus about half hour to recover, and everyone else done. It was weird, the woman sitting next to her clearly thought that we were laughing at her, and she was getting really sort of awkward. And when you're not allowed to laugh, you know, like when you're at school, it was like that, you know. So every time we tried to straighten up a little bit, I'd just look at her and go, well, have one of them. We'd piss ourselves laughing. The woman next to us was getting well edgy about it. But soon we were out, and they got back to their nice meals. So anyway, there's a crowd forming, and it's kind of strange. I'll tell you what, something very interesting happened to me. I am going into business with someone else. Now, I've always run my businesses myself, and I'm going to sell equity. And this is interesting because it's kind of like putting your balls on a slate. They're either going to get whipping cream gently doused upon them, or they're going to get a nail through the bollock. So it's a frightening time, but check out something amazing. This bloke who I'm going into business with, he said to me, how do you make international payments? And I said, well, I use the bank or I use PayPal. And he was shocked, and he was just like surprised. You know, I've been running this particular business for nearly 10 years or over 10 years. And he said, you're off your head. He said, PayPal take about 10% and your bank's going to be taking at least 6. I done the maths. That's over 10 grand a year in bank fees. 10 fucking grand a year. Look how much money these cunts are making. How many international payments do you think are made every minute? Just think about it. I'd say, 100,000 maybe internationally? I could be so far off there. It could be millions. And they're making a 10% cut of those. Their money is going up in such incredible numbers. What is it? What do they call it? The logic of big numbers or something. That very quickly gets out of my ability to understand. The money these people are making from having your money, it's ridiculous, absolutely insane. And I looked that over the 10 years of my business, and you're looking at hundreds of thousands of pounds. And you know what really done me? It's not just that they're utter cunts who make money out of you by being cunts, because what it is I trusted them. And why did I trust them? Why do you trust these people with your money? You don't give your money to strangers and just go, here's my money. I trust you'll be all right with it. Because most people are going to go, yeah, see you later. But what upset me, what's concerning of me is I trusted them because I've grown up watching their adverts. That's it. That's the only reason. It can be the only reason. There's one other reason. I'm an idiot. And I don't think I am an idiot, so there's something else at play. And I realised that when I started the business, I was 35, 36? No, younger than that even. I realised that years of watching those shitty adverts that you think you've got the better of. You know, when you watch that, you know what it's like, there's like a little boy walking down the road with a balloon and it's all wholesome and nice and honest, and there's nothing hideous happening, there's no smackheads walking around, there's no one getting fucked in the bum, it's just a nice little village and it's going... If you want your money looked after, and then he turns up in someone's house and she's making a lovely pie, there's no packies or niggers though, of course, and it's all going on like this. We will look after your money and make sure it grows, looking after your future. And then Grandad's sitting there with his nice little cardigan on, and the little boy sitting on his knee. HSBC, looking after your money forever. No, they're not looking after your money. They're squeezing the fuck out of it and screwing you. And I am a victim of that. And I mean victim. Because I fucking trusted them. Why have I done it? Why have I done it without... Why did I just do it? Oh yeah, I'm going to pay China in US dollars, and I've got the money in HSBC. I'll just pay it, and they have fucking screwed me because, look, 7 years university studying culture, society, the economy, Marxism, historical materialism, psychoanalysis. I've lectured psychoanalysis. I studied Freud and Lacan on my master's degree, thinking I've got an eye for all this shit. No, bollocks, it's snuck under me and whipped my ass. PayPal, another one. Oh, look at the name of it, PayPal. It's like it's your mate. Oh, hello, give us your money. No worries, I'm your pal. And I thought I was above it, but no, they've done me. That little PayPal advert, when it comes up on the screen and it's just someone chuckling with a calculator. You're like us. We just deal in money and we make money. You're like us. No, fuck you. They have skanked me. 10%. 10%. Not only that, PayPal takes a charge from you. So you pay what? What is it? Transaction fees. Why? And so does the person you're paying. So you pay a charge. The person you're paying pays a charge. And they take a cut of the thing at 10 fucking %. So no more. And you don't need to. If you do any of this shit, which I'm sure some of you do, you don't need to. You find a broker who takes, wait for it, 0%. Nothing. They exist. I've just joined one. It's called HiFX. Join, done, job done. I can now move dollars or euros or sterling all around the world for no money. And the weird thing is, I've done it myself. I talked about it in the first podcast a few weeks back. My girlfriend bought a load of bitcoins. I needed a load of money moved to my account. She done it. She pressed 2 buttons. Well, tell a lie. She put her password in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 buttons, and pressed enter. Then she put in the amount and pressed send. That's how much it costs to move money around. Fuck all. There's no transaction charges needed. It doesn't cost anything to do. It's digital. It's just a press of a button. It's much the same as uploading a picture onto Facebook and someone in fucking China looking at it. It's exactly the same. So you don't need to be paying this. And I was really over the moon. This is a good person to be going into business with, I think. Someone who has saved me in roughly 10 grand a year. And with the business growing at the speed it's growing, next year that'll probably be 20 grand he's saved me. So my balls may well be on a slate, but at the moment there's a mermaid gently massaging each one. Okay? So go online and type in mermaid slate bollock massage, and you'll be able to move money around the world for nothing. You have to be careful talking about banks on podcasts. I don't want to come over all artist, taxi driver, conspiracy theorist, talking about 9/11 the other week and now banks. But it's not a conspiracy. That's the weird thing about conspiracies. I don't think they need them. I don't think they need the Illuminati. I think capitalist politics and social structures are doing quite well as they are exposed and transparent. You don't need these secret organisations going on. I remember not that too far back getting really quite annoyed with your JP Morgans, your Rothschilds, Goldman Sachs and all that. You know, it's not that far away from the whole Illuminati thing, thinking of these 7 big families that have ruled the world from the last 2,000 years. I'm not saying they're not there. They are obviously there. The Rothschilds exist, Goldman Sachs, etc. Blah blah blah. These families exist, but this idea that they rule the world is a complete myth. It's a ridiculous oversimplification of the way things work. History, the movement of culture and society is a complicated and overdetermined, slightly arbitrary, but a complex relationship of geopolitical strangitude. Have I described it there? I don't think I have. But you know what I mean. What you've actually got, I'd suggest, with these families, is families who have become experts and specialists, obsessives, in the acquisition of money. There's no doubt that these are the richest families in the world. However, that confusing money with power is a classic mistake, because all they've actually shown their ability to do is acquire wealth, and that doesn't mean that they control anything or that they run anything. I mean, I don't know how much of a say they have in Britain's Got Talent, for instance. I don't know how much of a say they have in the football results. I don't think they have much of a say in where and how I fart. Now, they are ridiculous examples, but all they have done is controlled the movement of money. And you could say that then comes back down to PayPal stitching me over those funds. But that's all they are. They're experts in the acquisition of money. And other people are experts in medicine, and other people are experts in, let's say, laughter, comedians and artists and writers. And I would much rather be an expert in one of the creative arts than I would be in the acquisition of money, which is an arsehole thing to be good at, to spend your life at. There's a quote. One of the Rothschilds' siblings was knocking around with someone outside the family. You know, you can't imagine that, like that film Society, where they all turn scaly and alien bits come out of their vulvas and touch each other in the eros. Eros was great. And this bloke was hanging around with him, and he was like, the Rothschild bloke said to him, you can find this on YouTube, put in something like Conversation with Rothschild, and he said to him, we've got this thing we're going to do where this is going to happen, and we're going to get all of this. And the friend said, yeah, but what about all those thousands of people who are going to be out of somewhere to live and out of work? And the Rothschilds fellow went, well, fuck them. Why would I think about them? And the other bloke said, well, because they're people. And he went, nah, fuck them. I don't worry about them. I just worry about my family. And there's an ugly kind of, it's uncivilized to think like that. It's almost pre-tribal. The idea that you just look after your own, because where does your own start and end? If you're looking after your own, you got to find a couple of Africans a few million years ago, because we are all our own. It's an ugly little gang mentality. You got to look after our own. By look after our own, they mean live in palaces and don't touch anything and exist in a sterile world of separation. Like the royal family are they're a gang, aren't they? That you've got the Crips in New York, and you've got the Warriors in the best gang film ever made, and you've got okay, boppers, let's get down to it, and you've got the royal family, and it's ugly, and it's unevolved, and there's no empathy there, there's no humanity there. They're all cunts, and they don't rule the world, they don't run the world, they don't have power, they have money, which actually, I'd suggest, strangles the fucking soul out of them, and good luck to it. They're essentially all swinging from nooses from the hideous mahogany beams of their latest mounting retreat. So feel free to, those Rothschilds, their quest for power, and that's what it is. I'm not getting that wrong. They certainly believe they have power, and they need to have a sense of control. They've named so many insects and all that shit, all through the crazy Victorian period, which was kind of... if you look at the Victorian period, it's almost defined by an obsessive archiving. All the Victorians really done was found things, labelled them, and put them in books and boxes. And there's so many insects which are sort of like Rothschildus canalis, and there's a butterfly called a Rothschildus catabasis. Obsessively this idea that they've left a big footprint on humanity, when they haven't. They've just left a bit of shit on it. Okay, it's time for the questions. Questions from people's mouth. They come from north and south. They have words, meanings in turds. Okay, this week's questions start with Copy Copstick. Okay, Copstick, the most feared comedy critic in Britain. She's not. I don't fear Copstick. I love Kate Copstick. She says great things about everything I do. And for example, she asks, why are you not coming up to Edinburgh, you fucking layabout? Well, Copstick, you've answered the question. Dave Horton says, when's summer going to start in the ROI? I don't know. ROI. Roy. Sorry, I'm so tired. I don't know when summer's going to start in the Republic of Ireland. In the summertime when the weather... I'll tell you what, have a listen to that song. You know that song? In the summertime when the weather is fine. I think it's Mungo Jerry, isn't it? There's a line in it, and I shit you not, it says, have a drink, have a drive, go out and see what you can find. Have a drink, have a drive. There's nothing wrong with that. Unless you kill someone or get arrested or have a sense of responsibility. I did do it in Cambodia though. Right, I'm not a driver, I don't drive in England, but I get a scooter out there. And we went to this little restaurant and we had a couple of cocktails, and the cocktails out there are like 80 parts methylated spirits and 1 part slice of lemon. And I was like, shit man, I am fucked. And I said, but we've only got to go up the road. It was only like about a kilometre, and it was like 9 o'clock at night. But as soon as we left the restaurant, we hit the most insane roundabout you have ever seen. And I just let the force guide me. I'm sorry to admit that. I just shut my eyes and let the force of the Star Wars quadrilogy take me home. And when I got home, I thanked Obi-Wan Kenobi. Ollie Raisin says, what is cooler, a feminist with dungarees or a gay fella with a cold? I think it's a feminist with dungarees. He also asks, what is your experience with spirituality? Well, I like the album, ladies and gentlemen, We Are Floating in Space, but the later stuff was a bit shit. Okay, Alex Parkinson, he actually sent me a link, an interesting angle on the questions. and I watched it, and I advise you watch it actually. If you search for Hydrate Me Smart Water, HIDRATE, Hydrate, ME, one word, Hydrate Me. These fucking idiots have created a water container, a bottle or a beaker that's got a microprocessor in it. And now this is the magic of it. It tells you when to drink it. So Darwin will sleep well in his grave knowing that no longer do you need to rely on such antique concepts like being thirsty. No, you don't need to know you're thirsty because your bottle by Hydrate Me goes blue. Alright? It also tells you how much water you've drunk and how much you need to. You have to put in a bit of information and then your water schedule is sorted out. I hope that business fails terribly and the people who set it up sit there crying, and then I hope they set up an insurance job where they burn down the factory and they don't drink so much water afterwards. Chris Johnny says, why? I don't know. User Mahmood says, where was your first solo holiday stroke trip? Or unless you're talking about the LSD trip, you naughty bastard. My first solo holiday was I hitchhiked around the whole of England once. I was about, 17? And I went, fuck it, I'm going out. And I had about £20 on me, a bayonet for safety, and I went down to the motorway in Dartford, and I hitchhiked. I went to Cambridge. From Cambridge, I went to Oxford. Weird, like some kind of weird boat race fascination that I never had, never will have. I couldn't give a shit if the Red Army were watering their horses at Hendon. And then I went up to York, and from York I went to Edinburgh. From Edinburgh I went down to Manchester, and Manchester I went back home. I had Arabs offering me jacuzzis, I had lorry drivers trying to touch my balls, I had students in York I had a great time with, I saw my brother in Edinburgh. Fucking great, man. Hitchhiked around the whole country at 17 years old. Richard Griffiths asks, have you ever taken 3 grams of Billy to the carnival? Chris Johnnis answers him, I bet he's taken Billy right up the carnival. Tim Wilderspin says, how vital is music to your day-to-day existence? What contemporary bands and singers do you like? Well, it changes, it really does change. I tend not to have favourites because that would be going against what the Buddhists call the eternal wheel of change, and that is really the seat of all our disquiets. I like things. At the moment, I'm loving Debussy. There you go. Start with Claire de Lune and then get on the more hardcore stuff. Piers Simmons says, it's a long one this, last week you had a police car with its siren going make a little appearance in your podcast. As I'm usually driving whilst listening to your lovely take on life, well, thank you, Piers. Would it be possible to give me a heads up if it's in your podcast or the boys in blue in my vicinity? Vicinity? I have nothing to hide these days, but I still get a bit twitchy when I think they're near me. Just a yes or no on this one. Okay, I'll bear that in mind, Piers. Dave Horton says, how much is too much? I don't know, Dave. Shelley Saunders says, what do you think of Tottenham? And I say, shit. Amy Francis says, how are you? I'm alright. Liz Young says, why do you always say this week's podcast is shit? Isn't that up to us to decide? Liz Young, yes, it is up to you to decide, but I think you will decide that this one has been shit. Thanks for listening. I love all of you. Don't forget, Saturday the 27th of June, Sex Tourist at the Proud Archivist. You can get the tickets online. If you don't know where to get them from, ask me. Thanks for listening. See you later. Much later.